Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Hey, good morning, folks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat.
Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are.
There it is, team. Morning. Morning, wherever you're tuning in from today.
Early bird gets the worm, they say. Here at Positive, we offer a 6-star team. It's a team that help you at every stage of your wealth creation journey.
General advice disclaimer. The information provided is general in nature and does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or needs. Before acting on any information, you should consider whether it is appropriate for your circumstances and seek professional advice from a licensed financial advisor. While every effort has been made to ensure the accuracy of the information, it is not guaranteed. It is based on our understanding of regulations and laws as at the publication date. As these are subject to change, you should talk to a professional advisor for the most up-to-date information. Any examples or illustrations provided are for illustrative purposes only and are not a guarantee of future performance. We do not accept any liability for any loss or damage incurred by reliance on the information provided. Any opinions expressed are subject to change without notice. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investments carry risks. Neither the hosts, guests, nor any affiliated entities accept liability for any loss or damage arising from reliance on the information provided. By listening to this podcast and viewing this presentation, you acknowledge and agree to these terms.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wealth Coffee Chats. It's myself here, Alex, from the financial planning team. And as you can see, I'm in a slightly different setting today. I'm actually in the Melbourne office, seeing a few clients, but that doesn't mean that the podcast has to stop. So, guys, super excited for today's episode because I want to share something. I want to share a story with you, right? And hence the sort of the title for today's podcast is how a financial advisor can help you buy a house. So it's a bit of a loaded sort of topic, but I've just wrapped up a client's sort of file where we achieved some results for them, and I just want to share that with everyone because I think it has all elements of advice, right? And it also fits into what do we actually do as the advisors, right? So from my recent conversations with a lot of people at the Property Summit, there's misconception or misunderstanding. What does the financial advisor do? How do we fit into the overall 6-star team? So I thought, the best way to explain this and show the value that we can potentially bring to you and your team is by going through a live example that I went through with a new client and give you sort of points during this execution where we've added value. So let me paint the picture, right? So I had a young couple come to me, sort of early to mid 30s, high income for the client, and the partner was sort of working part-time because they have a they've come to me because they couldn't really work out what to do next. So they didn't have the objective set. So, we spoke about this previously. So they didn't know where to go, right? They've done some investments in the past that didn't work out. So they were kind of very disappointed with that journey. So they finally decided to actually speak to someone like myself and work out a strategy for them moving forward, right? So again, it's relatively difficult to kind of begin conversation like that without knowing the objectives. So what we did was, from our end, we actually sat down and understood exactly the pain points for these clients, right? So and they were quite different from both ends. So the client had one objective, which is because they were in a high income, they wanted to minimize tax, build out a property portfolio, whereas the partner, because her income was lower, she was looking after the child, she wanted something more stable, right? She didn't really care about the tax savings or anything like that. So all of a sudden, right, there's a friction already in terms of the objectives for both. So going through the process, we identified that the pain point for both of them was that whilst they had some assets, so shares and investment property, they didn't actually have the principal place of residence, or PR. So with the client, his objective was, okay, I want to go and buy another property to help me with negative gearing, minimize tax, etc. Whereas the wife was, like I said, on the opposite end. So what I said to them was like, ultimately, guys, you've got a decision to make here, right? It's either lifestyle or investment, right? And the outcome of those two will be slightly different. So from our end, what we did for them, for these particular clients, we actually mapped out two different situations around if they go down the principal place of residence purchase and a second investment property purchase, right? Because on one end, it will assist quite a lot in terms of tax, and on the other end, it will provide a lifestyle asset where they can, where they can have a security of the property. No one is going to be evicting them, but it's not going to generate income or any tax benefits to them, right? So obviously, down the track, if they sold it, then no capital gains on the back of that. So, with these particular clients, what I noticed was that they had a lot of fatigue around decision making. And one thing that they told me at the beginning of our meeting, that they're very bad at making decisions, as in, they might have option A, option B, and they just cannot decide which option to go with. That was just them. And one of the things I said is that, look, what we'll do from our end, outside of just the advice, will actually keep you accountable for your actions as well, right? So we're not going to be able to make a decision for you. We'll give you all the tools required to make that decision. We'll make sure that you also you stick to it, and we execute on it at the end of the. So we went down the path of explaining everything. We've given them two different options, two different outcomes. One was investment property, great, reduced tax, extra income, but you're still renting. And the other one is you buy the principal place of residence. You've got the secure home, but the tax position is also not minimized any further. So the other thing to mention is, or alluded to, they had a quite bad experience with investing because they sort of just made investments on the back of, short-term sort of views around, this particular investment will double, triple in value in, in 5-6 months, and then I'll get out of it. That will be a great sort of investment for us. So unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. So as it standard at the time, they were actually quite down on their original investment. So, and they were very, I guess, bitter about that. So you can either dwell the things that may or may not have worked in the past, or we can utilize that to our advantage. That I was referring to is the trade-off between the investment property that they have, which was, again, to give you an idea, it was an older sort of property. All the depreciation has been exercised. The only sort of interest and just some expenses, that day-to-day probably would incur. So, so they were already kind of on the back foot with actual property. So I said, look, as part of our strategy as well, we will review the option of potentially upgrading this older tied property into something newer with a bit more depreciation, more deductions, better cash flow, etc. Right? So, and how we're going to do that is potentially we will losses that you have created other assets to manage gain on the property that you held for a little while. So, so already, from a financial planning side, we've given them different options around, well, option A, option B, investment property versus principal place of residence. We then also looked at refreshing their current investment strategy from old to new type of investment. So we didn't provide any property advice, right? So we are just talking from a strategic perspective around, okay, how can we elevate your position from where you are now with the resources that you have, right? So that was phase one, right? So, and again, we've given the advice. The clients were super happy. We did some other stuff on the side as well as part of the advice, not on the side, but as part of the advice. And, a couple of months later, we've sort of executed on certain things there. And a couple of months later, I reached them just to sort of follow up and see how things are going. And it turned out that they kind of still decided between option A because they couldn't make a decision at the end of the strategy. So I said to them, look, guys, ultimately, you have a couple of options here. You could have invested all these funds into personal advice, and now, it's going to go sideways, or you can actually go through with what we discussed and strategies that we talked about and go out there and actually make a decision and let's make this happen. I think that was a bit of a, I guess, what's the saying, like when the penny drops, right, for them, because they realized that, hey, I'm not going to be able to do that for them, right? So again, this is not a situation where I came to the advisor like myself and expected me to all the answers and them to kind of sit back and say, okay, great, somebody else is doing this for me. That's not how it works, right? As a client, whether it's in property, whether it's in advice, you have to put in the effort in order to achieve the outcome, right? Myself, I'm there to help you, guide you, and give you, strategies to implement it in the right way so that ultimately you can get, and it happens and later down the track. But, ultimately you're the one who's driving the ship, right? So I'm just there to help you navigate how to get there. So I think that that's when I realized that they actually have to do this. I'm not going to go out and find a property for them. So fast forward another month, I get a call to say, hey, you know what, we actually purchased the property. And I said, my first question was, all right, is this an investment or is this the, for the family? And they said, no, for the family. And I said, oh, that's amazing. So sounds like the lifestyle decision was the one that you have agreed on. And that is awesome because for them, I kind of felt a little bit of pride in the fact that they've made the decision knowing that they're very bad at making those decisions to begin with. And secondly, is that now they've got a secure home for them and the family because, like I said, they do have a young child, and they were kind of getting bothered by moving around different sort of rental properties. So, I think the key here is that you need to understand our role as an advisor in your strategic sort of advice. It's not to actually go out and it is for us to make those decisions and then execute on them with your partner or by yourself, and have other sort of professionals around you to guide you through it. So now that they've purchased the property, we are now onto sort of phase 2 of our discussion, which is around that trade exchange of the investment property, right? Because now they've decided that, look, yes, the advice was appropriate in a way that the property is older, there's not appreciation, it has accumulated, it has grown in value over the last sort of 7 years. So it's a great opportunity for them to trade that to something newer, better income, more depreciation. So we're kind of taking a step back from, I guess, the client's initial sort of objective of, I want to minimize my tax as much as possible, to now saying, okay, well, now we've got the home secure, so that's perfect, amazing. We still have an investment property, but we're going to exercise a sort of view to get more deductions, which will then result in better tax deductions for clients, right? So for me, seeing the result of what started out, I can't make a decision, don't know what to do, had a bad sort of run of results. We wanted two opposite things, actually seeing it flourish into achieving family home, still have an investment, have a strategy beyond that to buy a second and third investment in a couple of years' time. That is sort of the work that we do. And for me personally, when coming to this, to sort of wanting to share something with you guys, I just wanted to, take a step back and not just talk about, the series and different concepts, this and that, but actually give you a live scenario as to can be achieved, what sort of advice will work with. Obviously, from my perspective, this is a very simple sort of story to tell everyone, but we deal with a much more complex stuff. But I don't know if I can fit that into 20 odd minutes in this podcast. But ultimately, from this exercise is that seek advice, and even if you don't know exactly what you want to do, work out your roadmap. Work out where you want to be in 5-10 years time, right? Lock that in. If you lock it in, that means you are invested into that process, and you're actually actioning it on the back of it. Sometimes you do need to take a step back in order to move forward. So like for these clients, for example, instead of getting a second investment property but not having a PPR, they exchanged tax benefits over lifestyle family preference, right? But I said to them, look, guys, in 2 years' time, you're going to be in a much better position if you have purchased 2 investment properties now, and then the PR, because ultimately the PR would be based on our sort of assumptions and analysis, what wasn't going to happen for sort of 5+ years, because cash flow wise, equity wise, they were not going to have a deposit in order to purchase a property. And then with the increase in property prices, it would have been much more difficult for them to to get that property purchase done, right? So, in conclusion, just think about your situation. Think about, if you're stuck, if you need advice. I will go into more details around things that we do, but from a financial planning perspective, that's the sort of work that we do at a very sort of base level. There's a lot more to it that I didn't sort of explain because I'm just trying to keep the core message here in this podcast. But ultimately, see, these are the results that we can get for you, and for in my case, for my client. And now they're super happy. They've knocked out big ticket items in within like an 8 to 9 months period. And I'm looking forward to see us and flourish, and we're working together to get them into that investment journey and acquiring more assets over the next, sort of 15, 20 years, which will then give them that flexibility at the end to choose whether they want to work, whether they want to take, step back away from work whilst having assets there to cover their financial position. This little story inspired you and made you think a little bit differently. If not, that's cool. There'll be more stories, and we'll see what I can come up with this week. Maybe another story, be a little bit more technical stuff. Let's see how we go. Either way, let me know what topics you want me to cover. Right? If there's anything in particular, I'm happy to explore it and go in more detail around that. But I will be sharing more details around how the advice world works, who we work with, how we work with them, and what sort of results we can achieve. So for now, I hope you're having a good Thursday, and see you guys next week. See you later.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6 Star team here at positivementor.com.au.